Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. I am Sharon Green Middleton, Vice President of the City Council, representative for the 6th Council District, and Chairperson for the Economic and Community Development Committee. This afternoon, we will hear the following bill: 23-0387, Minority and Women's Business Program Reauthorization. And in attendance today, we have Councilman John Bullock of the 9th District.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Mark Conway of the 4th District.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Ryan Dorsey of the 3rd District. Councilman Antonio Glover of the 13th District. Councilwoman Odette Ramos of the 14th District. And Councilman Robert Stokes of the 12th District. A full committee today. And representatives of the President's Office. We have Tiffany Macklin, Deputy Director of Legislation, and representative for the Mayor's Office. We have Dominique representing Government Relations. Let's begin. Bill number 23-0387, Minority and Women's Business Program Reauthorization, for the purpose of reauthorizing and continuing the Minority and Women's Business Program, providing for a special effective date, and generally relating to minority and women's business enterprises. This bill was introduced on May 15th, 2023. This bill was sponsored by the administration, and we will now take the committee will now hear from agency representatives, and we'll go ahead and start with the City Solicitor's Office.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hillary Ruley on behalf of the Law Department, and we approve the bill for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. Department of Finance.
Good afternoon, everyone. Laura Larson, City Budget Director. We stand by the report that was submitted by our team.
Thank you. The Baltimore Development Corporation. And Dominic's going to give that report.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Dominic McLilly here from the Mayor's Office of Government Relations. The BDC offers a favorable position on this bill.
Thank you.
No
And
problem.
then the Minority and Women's Business Opportunity Office. Could you kind of give us a, overview and, some information as well, some pertinent information?
All right, good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Stephen Campbell, Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Small and Minority Business Advocacy and Development. Just some brief information. In fiscal 2024, we merged with the Mayor's Office of Minority and Women's Business-Owned Development into the Mayor's Office of Small and Minority Business Advocacy and Development. That change will bring about additional resources in order for us to reach small and minority businesses within the Baltimore City market area. And based on our disparity study, it is one of the recommendations that will allow us to explore, push our reach even further into helping in terms of development, which is something that people have asked us to do for a very long time. More resources to main streets, and more oversight in general from a compliance standpoint.
Okay. Is your main office still, you have an office, I guess, in that Park Circle area? Is that part of?
Yes, I believe the address is 200 Druid Hill Park Drive.
Okay.
Sorry, 3000, Druid Hill Park Drive is where we are located now currently. We're no longer in the law department at City Hall.
Are there any, what things are you going to be doing differently at that location?
Well, we're able to have outreach events at that location because there are multiple conference rooms, multiple areas for training. We're able to have people come in and walk them through, hopefully, steps of the application process and things of that nature. We've been having outreach seminars so far. We had this Black Business Month was last month, and we had a number of seminars every week where people were able to come in. Of course, one of the things that I'm sure people complain about is parking at City Hall, and so we have plenty of parking where people can come in, park, and take advantage of the opportunities and outreach and information that we have for them.
Okay. Do any of our members have any questions? And we'll start with Councilman Stokes, and then we'll go to Councilwoman Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just reading the analysis, and part of it says the article makes it clear that the contracting process in the past in the city involved discrimination under the utilization. What have y'all done in changing that process? Because this, what that analysis say?
So we, based on our last disparity study, we're looking at identifying and giving the merger with the Mayor's Office of Minority and Women's Business Development. Now we're able, in the future, to target specific areas that have been underserved in terms of achieving MBE, WBE goals. So we're looking at areas where there may not have been as much participation in the past. For example, places like IT and other fields where, for whatever reason, our process didn't take into account as many MBEs and WBEs in the procurement process. And so now we're able to highlight areas where, in partnership with our agencies, to let them know these are certain areas where there may be room for additional MBE and WBE opportunities. And also reaching out to members of the community who, for whatever reason, are not certified with us as of this moment, reaching out to them so they can be included in our subcontractor database so that, in fact, they can participate on these contracts.
So whatever the process was before, do you have what your new process is going to be so we don't be repeating this again?
So we're working on the new processes. One of the recommendations is to install contract compliance software, which is in the final phases of testing before we're ready to go live. And in fact, when we are able to go live with that, then we'll be able to catch areas where there is falling participation or a contract where participation is falling short, and we're not waiting to a release of retainage point to now find out that MBs and WBs haven't been used on this contract for whatever reason. We'll be catching that ahead of time and way before in the process, so we're able to have conversations about what is going on with MB, WB shortfall.
So who's watching that?
Our contract compliance system, our contract compliance officers, they will be responsible for going into that system and monitoring that. The agencies will be responsible for uploading that information and that data into agencies, as well as prime and subs will be responsible for uploading information and verifying information. And if there are areas and situations where a prime and a sub have a disagreement, that's when we'll be able to go in and take a look at said information about what's going on with that contract. Again,
So, Madam
way
Chair-
before,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
way before, we get to a release of retainage process where somebody has missed out on potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So, Madam Chair, just a request. Can would we be able to get a copy of that process in terms of, not the process itself, but whoever's monitoring, so we can see the difference of what y'all doing now, and it has changed in terms of the discrimination and underutilization. Can you show from reports where it has changed and now that's not happening again? Because we can sit and talk about it, but it got to be something to back it up to see the changes have been made when you're issuing contracts. Am I correct?
Yes, so hopefully that's something that we will be able to, we'll have to see the contracts due to the life of the contracts, but yes, hopefully that's something that I don't think there should be a problem for us to supply.
Okay, thank you.
And does that include, when you had mentioned partnerships, we're talking about housing, BDC, some of those main agencies that work directly with communities and what's, going on within the communities and the development. We all 14 districts have some kind of development in their impoverished areas? And is there going to be a connection as that moves forward with what your plans are?
The plan is that everybody who does MBEW participation in the city will have to work in our B2G Now contract compliance environment so that we have all of that reporting there.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that bill it's basically the same program, except for the dates is what we're looking at. And so my question was around the disparity study. How often are we doing the disparity study now?
The disparity study should be every 4 years. Because of a number of reasons, we did not adhere because of COVID, things of that nature. We didn't get to the 4 years, but yes, it's supposed to be every 4 years. So we do have, even though we just submitted one, we should have another one coming up very soon.
Right, so this says 2022 disparity study, and then the subtitle expires or is reauthorized in 2028. So you would be doing another disparity study in 2026 to get ready. So why isn't that in here? I guess my point is, if we're going to be doing reauthorization in 2028, we do need to have disparity study. That's how we understand how much, how we make our minority business goals. I just don't, if we're not going to mandate that we're doing it every 4 years, then it may not happen again, because you're doing it 2022, and then you're going to do it again in 2026. You're supposed to do it every 4 years. I think we just need to be clear, and I would, if the committee agrees, would be okay with doing a second reader to clarify this, because we should, or at least say 2022 disparity study and every 4 years or something like that, right? Just to make sure that we're doing it.
Well, the
Because
code
right now,
doesn't-
it doesn't say that we're doing one in 2026.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. It's not explicit in the language of the bill.
Correct.
Whereas the code does mandate that we're supposed to do one every 4 years. So yes, that's something that we, I will speak to Director Lundy about, and we'll see if we can make that explicitly clear.
Just to be clear, just to make sure that we actually do it,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? That's what I was wondering about.
And then to add to that, Councilwoman, we're going to, of course, we're going to want updates every budget year. You're going to be probably questioned, and that's kind of like automatic, correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We fully expect to submit a report every budget year.
Yeah, the
Councilwoman.
disparity study, we all got a copy of it when it came out. So I think that's automatic. But I just, if you're going to have to do it every 4 years and you're putting it in this way, we might want to either be prescriptive or not, right? Just to make it consistent, that's all, so that we know that another one is coming in 2026. Because this one was late. We should have done it like 2 years ago.
Yes, correct. Like I said, because of COVID and changeover in the leadership of formerly MWBU, now SMBAD, that's why it kind of was a few years late, but we're trying to regain that consistency going forward.
Okay. I think that's it for right now. Thanks.
Okay. Any other committee members have any questions? And hearing none, did you have any more questions, Councilwoman Ramos? I think everyone else is.
I did want to just reflect upon the fact that I have a bill sitting around that is the Amaris to make sure that we're also doing LGBT. But I think you're already integrating LGBT into the programming now. Is that correct? In terms of what did we call it? In terms of having a program for making sure that people who are identifying as LGBT could also participate in the minority business programs.
So I cannot speak to that with specificity. I think Director Lundy would be better equipped to speak to that with specificity. I do know that we are trying to, hopefully we will be including we'll be getting some data about that in our next disparity study, but as of the last disparity study, there was no information that we were able to gather regarding including them necessarily in the program at this time.
So could you get the director to answer that question before we go into, we have our second reader? Could you send that to the committee?
Yes, I will inform him of it.
And then just real quick, the last thing is, I know that the state has to have specific goals for specific populations, and we don't do that. We have like a 25% goal or whatever the goal is for just minority participation. Well, have we been thinking about separating it out, or we're not doing that anymore?
So we've always had sub-goals. We have, what triggers sub-goals, I believe is over $1 million, and it is capital projects at this moment that's funded by DPW or DOT, led by one of those agencies. I do not know if it's something that will expand. I can't necessarily speak to that with any specificity and don't want to speak to that right now, but sub-goals is something we do. Unfortunately, we probably don't do it often enough as a mechanism right now, but it is something that is available to us.
So the sub-goals are only for certain, if a contract is over a certain amount and if it's a DPW project?
DPW or DOT contract, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Any other burning question before we move on to see if there's public testimony? And at this point, we don't see any, if you're online and would like to testify on this bill, please use the raise hand button to let us know. And there is none. Are there any telephone callers? Checking for telephone callers. None. And there are no telephone callers. Are there any, last call for committee members, any comments or questions on this before we take a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion to recommend the bill favorable? So moved. So moved by Councilman Bullock and second by Conway.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify if it's okay that I work with Chief Lundy on this years of the disparity study for second reader, just because we've discussed it here, and that's, we won't take time here to do the amendment because we need to write it all in, but if the committee's okay with moving forward on just being clear about which years the disparity study has to be performed. That way we're just clear on that. We won't vote on it.
So that, I'm sorry.
We weren't going to vote on it today, though, because I don't have it written, but I just wanted to make sure that the committee's okay with that concept.
On the amendment?
Yeah,
On-
with that
on your
concept.
amendment? Or you're not doing an amendment?
I can't
You're
do it here
just-
because I don't have it written.
Okay.
So I was going to do it on second reader if,
Do we have any committee members that's objecting to that? And seeing none, it's granted.
thanks.
Councilman Dorsey, you have a question?
Just as a point of order, it can be done here. It does not have to be written.
I don't know what we're going to write,
Okay.
because we may have to clarify it.
Got
So
it.
it's just a general concept.
Okay.
So you're going to do it on the floor? Okay. Is that understood by the committee? Okay, on that note, Chair Middleton is a yes. Bullock? Yes. Is a yes. Conway? Yes. Is a yes. Dorsey? Is a yes. Glover? Yes. Is a yes. Ramos? Yes. Is a yes. Stokes? Yes. Is a yes. And this bill will go on to second reader, and we also will have a floor amendment to go with that, and also we're waiting for answers to the 2 questions from the director before the council meeting.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.